Hello viewers, on this occasion I will be presenting you the impact of language socialization in teaching practices in the field of second language acquisition for the subject of Seminar 2 regarding the dissertation thesis for this master's degree program. We begin by addressing that this research method will have an approach of an ethnographic study. The study will employ an ethnographic approach involving both participant observation, surveys, and likely also students' assessment that would allow us to gather very important and rich data regarding how the teachers perform regarding also language socialization practices in their classroom and how effective this can be in their teaching practices. The participants to take into consideration will be teachers of English as a second language at a private institution in Caracas. We are considering that they might be between 4 to 6 participants. Additionally, also, the students' assessments will be taken into consideration. The idea is to have at least 5 to 10 samples per teacher participating in this study. Regarding the variables, we have separated independent variables from dependent variables. In the case of the independent variables, first we have the frequency of language socialization techniques. This variable contemplates the extent to which teachers use language socialization techniques like scaffolding, collaborative learning, and cultural integration in their lessons. Regarding the types of language socialization techniques, this variable entails the specific language socialization techniques employed by teachers, such as authentic materials, role-playing, or even community engagement. Lastly, for the independent variables, we have the teacher's attitudes towards language socialization. This one addresses the teacher's beliefs and perceptions about the effectiveness of language socialization in the field of second language acquisition. Now, for dependent variables, we have first student language acquisition. This variable could be measured through various assessments like pre, post-test performance tasks and students' reflections on language learning experiences. Likewise, cultural and communicative competence. This one could be assessed through analysis of student-generated texts. Now, moving on to the instruments and techniques. First, we have observation sheets. Now, these ones will be developed in order to record the frequency and types of language socialization techniques that the teachers employ during the classroom observations done by the researcher. Then we have the surveys. In this case, they will be online questionnaires that will be administered to teachers to gather data on their attitudes towards language socialization and their implementation of these techniques in their classrooms. And lastly, the students' assessments. A variety of pre and post tests, tasks, and assignments will be used to measure students' language proficiency and development across different skills, such as speaking, listening, reading, and writing. Regarding the plan to analyze the data, the first stage involves the quantitative data from surveys and assessments, which will be analyzed using statistical software such as Google Forms to illustrate frequency, potential correlations between LS practices, and student outcomes. Then, qualitative data from the observations will be analyzed thematically using code techniques to identify possible patterns and themes related to the teacher's implementation of language socialization and its impact on students. Of course, last but not least, mixed methods analysis will be employed to triangulate the findings from the different data sources that we have just mentioned in order to provide a more comprehensive understanding of the research question. It is important to understand that the students' assessment, although are part of the quantitative data, they are separated in categories from the surveys or questionnaires. Regarding the procedures, The first step is to gain ethical approval. Submitting the research proposal to the Institutional Review Board for ethical clearance is key. This part is already being taken care of. Number two, recruit the participants. That is to say, explain to them the research project regarding the ESL teachers and obtain informed consent. In this case, we are mostly underway. Number three, conduct classroom observations. Researchers will observe the ESL classes using the prepared observation sheets to record the practices regarding language socialization. Regarding this stage, we are beginning to schedule possible observation dates. Administer surveys. Online questionnaires will be sent to the teachers in order to gather their perspectives on language socialization. This step has not been taken yet. Collect assessments. Likewise, as the one before, this one has not been taken yet. However, it is understood that the idea is to do pre and post tests regarding the language proficiency and development of the students in context with language socialization. Once all of these steps have been made, we can move on finally to the data analysis, in which the quantitative and qualitative data will be analyzed using the appropriate techniques such as the ones previously mentioned. Last but not least is publishing or presenting the findings, presenting a research report, presenting the findings at dissertations, and hopefully publishing the results. Regarding the administrative aspects, we have to take into consideration the resources needed for this research. Number one is the researcher. Although we understand that we are part of this investigation, we tend to look away or we tend to actually forget that we are a resource in this process. Number two are the observation sheets and all of the surveys, as well as the assessment for the students. Number three will be the software for the data analysis and management, which, as we said before, would be through Google Classroom. Also, the technological equipment that could be used for any aspect needed, from a computer to even a recording device if some recording is decided to be done. And last but not least, the time and funding. It is important to always take into consideration these variables, considering that perhaps funding, although maybe never thought of because of the accessibility of certain resources, we have to take it into consideration. Because even while only needing a pen to write on a piece of paper, that involves a resource that we have to take into consideration. Regarding the research extent and limitation, we have to consider range, time constraints, and the teacher bias. Regarding the range, well, we consider that the study will be limited to only the teachers and students of one private institution. So this could potentially affect aspects regarding generalizations. Regarding the time, well, the duration of classroom observations, the numbers of participants in the study might make it a bit more difficult regarding the amount of time that it will all entail. And the teacher bias, well, if a teacher self-reports in surveys or if they have a particular attitude towards language socialization or perhaps towards the study on itself, that might cause a problem. That might introduce bias into the data, so we have to be very, very careful with these possible or potential issues. Regarding some of the administrative aspects, here we have a Gantt chart which estimates how we can move on regarding this research. It is estimated that, considering that we are already in the phase that has to do with approval and recruiting the participants, by the time that this semester ends, the instrument's elaboration will already either be started or will already be completed, so that the data collection can actually begin at the beginning of the next semester. If everything goes according to plan, this research can be carried out within the allotted time for the master's degree program. Well, we have reached the end of this video. We hope that you have enjoyed it, and we'll meet again next time. Bye bye.